Hey, Sherwin. I'm fine. I'm fine, Sherwin. Hello, hello, hello. Good evening, Uncle Larry. How are you?
I'm well, sweetie. How are you?
I'm great. I'm great. I'm great. I'm actually blessed. How's May 2022 going for you so far?
Absolutely. I have no gripes. I'm, one more day above the ground. You know, God's given me another chance at it, so I'm all good. I'm all
Uh-huh.
good.
I'm so happy. I'm so happy to hear that. Thank you, everybody that's coming in. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Larry Dodson, the original lead singer of the legendary group, The Case.
Hello, everybody.
Hello, hello, hello.
Thank you for
So,
chiming in.
what made you say okay, let me go ahead and start a singing career?
Well, like most entertainers, it's in my blood, sweetie. I in high school I started a group called the Temprees,
Mm-hmm.
and I was a doo-wopper, for many years,
Mm-hmm.
and we didn't do it. We didn't really do it professionally. But we were very popular doo-wop group, kind of like the Delphonics and the Temptations. So I did that up until 1970, and I was asked to join and be the lead singer of the legendary Barkays, who at that time did not really have a singer. They were an instrumental group because we're talking 1970. It was quite usual for bands to not have singers,
Yeah,
just be
to
instrumental.
come
So
together, have a lot of members in one group.
absolutely. So that was 30 albums ago and almost 5 decades. So it's been a very rewarding career.
Oh,
And
wow.
yeah, we made a lot of music. We made a lot of music, and they still are making a lot of great music.
Mm-hmm.
I'm in solo career now, as you probably know. So
Yes, yes.
things
I know you've been putting out a couple of singles, Uncle Larry, and it's doing well. And speaking of your solo career, are you collaborating some um with some singer named Jessica Ray? Is that her name?
yes, Jessica is a talent from a very talented young lady who she's from Memphis, Tennessee. And she collaborated with me on my new single called "Just We." Her father is Ray Griffin, who is a real well-known bass player. Matter of fact, he played on "Ring My Bell," and he was the co-writer of "Ring My Bell." And
Oh,
he's a
okay.
very talented guy. So apple doesn't fall too far from the tree.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I was very blessed to have her in the video and on my single that has done very well.
Mm-hmm. Oh, and it's amazing. God is good. I'm just happy to hear that it's doing well.
Yeah, we're good. We're good. That's my second single.
Mhm.
First single for my album, which will be out and released on May 20th. The first single was called "I'm Good,"
Mhm.
and we got top 30 on Billboard there. So, for a solo career, after all these years, it's not bad. It's not
Mhm.
bad. My
Mhm.
new album is called "Yours Truly, Larry D,"
Mhm.
and
Is it
it's
gonna
gonna
be coming out soon? Your new
May 20th.
album?
Yeah, May 20th.
May 20th. Okay,
Yeah,
that's 17 days away.
absolutely.
I'm looking forward to listening to the album.
It's very, very great. It's good. It's a good album. It's my
Mhm.
first solo album. I've taken almost a year to do it. I collaborated with lot of young producers.
Mhm.
Wiley Morris, who one of Charlie Wilson's producers. A kid by the name of Black Elvis, who's from here. So I got a lot of input. I got Michael Cooper from Confunction on one of my songs,
Mhm.
called "Better Than Me." So it's a very interesting, well-rounded, diverse album. I think the fans are going to really, really like it. Again, it's going to be out May 20th on our own
Mhm.
label. The label is called Music Moves Records. My son and I, Larry Jr., we run it and operate it, and we're a family business.
Yes, and it's good that family works together.
Absolutely. You don't mind I say, are you from New York?
Yes, I'm from New York.
Maybe your accent gives you away. I must tell you that. You have New
Mhm.
York all over your
Yeah,
accent. I
yeah,
love
yeah.
I love New Yorkers' accent. I can tell immediately. I tell
Mhm.
about people that there's a certain way you guys, they have a great dialect. It's very interesting. I
Uh-huh.
like to shop and go and spend time in New York, but I know living there is a little different for me. I get a
Uh-huh.
little nervous in New York for some reason.
Yes, yes. I'm a native New Yorker, and I would like to visit Tennessee. I want to see how it's like out there.
Well, it's just very cool. We still speak to everybody. We
Hmm.
still say hello. I'm telling you this. I tell my son, I told him this little story. The first time I was ever in New York, the very first thing I ever saw was this guy walking in front of me. He fell dead, and
Hmm.
people never stopped. And I was standing around. I'm from Tennessee, and we
Hmm.
were very concerned about people. So, but nobody ever moved, and I always remembered that people in New York, they
Hmm.
straight in, they they're not bad people at all. It's just they're just different. Just quite different. I love the culture of New York, though. Yeah,
Hmm.
very much so. So you born and raised in New York, right?
Yes, I was born and raised in New York,
Okay, very good. Manhattan, Bronx.
and I was born in Brooklyn, but I grew up on Staten Island.
I got you. Okay.
Because
Yeah,
New York has five boroughs: Staten
absolutely.
Island, Brooklyn, the Bronx, Manhattan, and Queens.
Queens, absolutely. We shopped in Manhattan a lot. Yeah, and
Yes,
that's where we get very
Manhattan
excited.
is the shopping spot. That's where all the tourists will be at, and that's Times Square.
Absolutely, absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely. Okay, very good, very good. So I see you got a lot of people chiming in. I see.
And thank you everybody that's coming in. I hope you guys are well.
Yeah, man. Yeah. So you have a lot of people that chime into your blog.
Yes.
Good. Okay. Very good. Very good. Okay. Silver. I see silver.
Silver
Oh, okay.
Swan
Silver
Entertainment.
sweater. That's you,
Yes,
right?
yes, yes. That's my music brand. It's my podcast.
Very good. Okay. Very good. Okay.
Mhm. Okay, going back to the Barcades, how
hmm
did you and the group came up with the name, and like how did you become the lead singer of the group?
The name can. So check this out. So when these guys, we're talking about a bunch of guys who were very, very young, 15, 16 years old. So they headed to their first gig, and their name at that time, this was before I joined. So they didn't really have a name. So as the story goes, they looked on this sign that said Bar Clay Rum. I don't know if you're a drinker or not. So they sort of twisted the C around and then substituted with a K. And so by the
Mhm.
time they got to the gig, they were called the Barcades.
Uh-huh. It's like they shorten like the liquor Bacardi.
Right, 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 right. And then there's a very popular rum called Barclay, Barclay.
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
that's how they got their name, and they liked it,
Hmm.
so they kind of stuck with it. And I was asked to join because they had their eyes on me. Uh, because as I said, they were an instrumental group. The very first record they ever made was a million seller. It was called Soul Finger. So they never really entertained having a singer. But when they decided to do so, they had saw me with the Temprees and saw me singing in the clubs and felt that I would be worth trying out. And so James came one Sunday night to the gig where I was singing and asked me would I consider it. And I said, of course, of course, sing with the Barcades, my God, man.
Mhm.
Yeah. So that, as I said, that was 30 albums ago. We've had an incredible career. We've had 20 top 10 singles, 10 or 15 gold and platinum albums. So it's been a real rewarding career. And we hadn't gotten into this part yet, but in 2017 I actually retired. I took 7 months and I found a kid to take my place. And I've been married to a wonderful woman for 51 years. So
Oh
I
wow, that's
thought that I could,
amazing. That's a
and
blessing.
that's
Over
cool.
5 decades, Uncle Larry, to be married for that long, that's a blessing.
It's more than that. Yeah, I'm so very fortunate. But we thought we was gonna retire. But long story short, it didn't work. I stayed gone for about a year and a half, and then I said, you know what, I want to come back to the States. I miss it so much. So my son and I started his record label, and we've been off and running ever since.
Oh, that's amazing. And speaking of the bar keys, it sounds like the bar keys, like on the piano.
Yep. So at Stax, there was also a group. Stax was where we recorded our first 4 or 5 albums. And as I said, the very first record the band ever made was a million song called Soul Finger. So there at the Stax there was also a group called the Marquees. And since then there have been another group called the Bokeys, but the Barcades are legendary. I mean, very few groups have been out as long as we have and have put out as much music as we have. Maybe only the Whispers, the OJs, Temptations, Cool in the Gang are 50 years plus groups. So we're in a very elite group.
And speaking of those groups, which a group did you always wanted to like collaborate and work with, and why?
You know what? Growing up, um, I would say Sly and the Family Stone was probably a group that we absolutely adored. And, as time would have it, years went on after we had done, oh man, 28, 29 albums. I got a chance to spend a whole month with Sly Stone. We worked together on an album called Contagious, and we wrote songs together, and he was an absolute jewel to work with. That was my dream come true to work and collaborate with Sly Stone.
Oh, okay. And when you guys, and when you first started as the Barcades along with the other group members,
Mhm.
how was it like to put out your first albums?
Well, let's see. So when I joined the band, they had already done 4 albums. So, but none of them had singing on it. So the very first album that I came in, it was called Black Rock. It was an iconic album, very, very diverse, and it was a great combination of R&B, rock, soul combined. It's probably one of the better albums we've ever done. It was challenging because I never really recorded professionally before, especially uh, being asked to join a group to become the lead only singer in the band, and they were already kind of gathering songs when I joined the band, so I got thrown right into it. But I got through it. We had a very good producer, Alan Jones. He co-produced Hot Buttered Soul, and he also played with Isaac Hayes. So he was a very talented guy. He helped me through that. It was very scary, man. Being in the studio for the first time.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because when you recording that song, that's one of your main songs. It's like almost like, oh my gosh, what are they gonna say? And you start shaking. You
You're absolutely right. All of the above. You're wondering were you good enough, and
hmm
understand now, see, the arcades were very hot, not just in Memphis, but all over the country, all over the world. And that was a very big honor for me to be chosen to be the singer of such an amazing group, to be the lead singer. And they never had a singer before me. So it was a big challenge for me.
And speaking of you and the group the Barcades, when listening to your song, it's like me and like some of your fans would be saying to themselves that man they remind they kind of similar to Cameo. Has anybody ever told you that?
More than once.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, Cameo, Earth, Wind and Fire, the Commodores, could function. We all kind of borrowed from each other, Sly and the Family Stone. We've been we've been recognized to sound a lot like a lot of those bands, but there's always been a difference there. First of all, starting with me, the Ohio Players was a group that we were always kind of talked about it in the same sentence, so to speak. The Ohio Players were also on the same record label as we were. But we've always been unique within ourselves. There's always been a great deal of uniqueness about the Barcades. How we looked, how we dressed, how we did, our approach to music. Even though there were some things that reminded other people of us, and in our music, we took a little bit from acts, so to speak. I'll be the first to say that. Yeah.
Hmm. And like the
Hmm.
Barcades now and the Barcades from then, um what is like the most the best moments about you and the group performing live like now, like a
Hmm.
couple of years ago and when you guys first started?
Probably one of the most memorable moments was when we first played Madison Square Garden. We were interrupted in the middle of our performance, and our record label awarded us 10 gold albums, one for each person in the band. And we'd always said that we played at this little club called the Family Affair, right after Stax closed, and we didn't have a record deal, and we were nervous about what we are going to do. We always said one day we're going to go from the Family Affair to Madison Square. And as it turned out, when we first played Madison Square Garden, that record label gave us our first gold album. That was one of the really memorable moments for me. We've had a bunch of them, but that was for sure one of the best moments.
Hmm. And your main singles like a freak show on the dance floor,
Yeah, you've
a
done
freak
your
show on
homework,
the
huh?
dance floor, anticipation, move your boogie, hit and run. Tell us about like like you like when you first recorded the songs with the group
Uh-huh.
and performing it live. What was your favorite place to perform live and why, Uncle Larry?
You know what? I think Chocolate City, we call DC Chocolate City. That was probably one of our favorite cities to perform at because it was just such a big black culture there. You're talking about a city that's 85% black, so we always sold out. And Memphis has always been a good place to play. Playing those hit records, as I said, we've had 20 top 10 records. So most everywhere we played, we were always riding on a big single. So,
Mhm.
and then we were a daring group. We had a big stage show. We used fire, bombs, and we used a snake in the act. And so we were really something to see. It's very a big spectacle when you came to see the Barcades.
Yeah, and speaking of the group, me myself, I would like to see you and the group perform live, and I would like to host the show. That would be an honor.
Really now.
Hmm.
I think you've done your homework. You spit out a lot of our big records, man. So you done.
Yeah, I'm a huge classic R&B fan. I grew up listening to your song to your music.
Really?
Hmm.
That's great. That's great. So I'm on the radio now. I come on Saturdays here on the local station. It's called The Trend 104 FM. And I come on Saturdays from 10 to 12 Central Time. So I play classic R&B and a few new songs. So it's been very enjoyable for me to take those classic hits and play them. And it's very rewarding because those records they remind you of places that you were when the record came out, what you were doing. They sort of make the videos go up in your mind when you hear all those songs from the '70s and the '80s.
Hmm. And
You often say, go ahead. I'm sorry.
And I'm speaking of of the Bouquets, Grown Folks. That's a single that you put out a few years ago.
Absolutely. And you know what? We had not had a hit record in 10 years.
Hmm.
And Jazzy Faye is the son of James Alexander, who was the bass player. So he was a very hot. He had done Beyonce, he had done Mary J. Blige and Ludacris and all these other kids, Keith Sweat. So we told him, you got to come produce a hit on us. And sure enough, we went down and he played us 4 or 5 customs. We said, we don't like that, we don't like that, we don't like that. And finally, when he got to this one beat, we said, we like that one. So we went in about 12 o'clock, and around 6 o'clock, we had recorded the whole song.
Oh
It was
wow.
it was magic. Yeah, and it got to be number 10 in the nation. It's the biggest record we had in 10 years.
No, oh wow. And I seen that you interview people. Tell us about your career in radio and you interviewing special guests on it.
Well, I didn't really ever have any aspirations of being a DJ, but it was during the pandemic. I wasn't traveling, and nobody was. So there was a new station that came up here, and they wanted a celebrity DJ, and they asked me to come aboard. My son said, I'll help you, Pop," and so I took it on. I went on in January of 2021, and so it's been a little over a year now. I absolutely love it, man.
Mhm. Yeah,
It's really
January
cool.
of 2021. That's when I started my podcast, and and look, I did over 40 interviews. I mean, look at God.
You better know it. I love to interview other artists, whether they're musicians or actors, and I've had just about everybody on my show. Because
Hmm.
I'm a hilarious, so I'm OG, so they whatever I ask them to do, they'll do it. So
Uh-huh. And
it's
you're
very
their
cool.
teacher. You're their teacher. I think
Yeah.
yeah. And speaking of singers, what do you think about these in your own opinion, Uncle Larry, what do you think about these new R&B singers? Now, hmm
I think you know what I have mixed emotions. I think some are very good. Um, and it's interesting to see R&B, see the kids, younger artists interested in R&B, and they call it neo soul and this and that, but it's basically basic R&B music. I'm glad to see a lot of the young kids gravitating to that, and I am a little bit challenged especially since I've been on the radio, and I have to kind of study and see a lot of these kids. I don't know them, so I have to kind of study and make sure that I play about 8 new songs in the 2 hours that I'm on.
hmm
So I have to make sure, like the Wiz, Wiz Kid, he's a new artist, and there are a lot
Wiz
of
Kid is
promise.
Afrobeat.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So, and I love that record. I absolutely,
Uh-huh.
it's one of my favorite records. But I have to kind of get to know these younger kids. But I'm glad to see R&B come back around, and some of these kids gravitate
Uh-huh.
to it.
And speaking of R&B coming back, Bruno Mars and his group Silk Sonic, they have the like that old school R&B flavor in them.
Absolutely.
Do you look forward to working with Bruno Mars and Silk Sonic, Uncle Larry?
Who wouldn't? Who wouldn't? Yeah, he just redid a song called Love Train by Confunction, who are good friends of mine. We traveled and toured together. So who knows? Maybe he'll get an itch to pick up and redo one of Barcade's records. I think there's some smart kids. I think it's a great collaboration between him and Anderson Paak. They
And
study. Oh, go
and
ahead.
speaking of Anderson Paak, he
Yeah.
has his new record label. He has his own record label. What are your thoughts about that?
I think they're smart kids. I think they're innovative. They're doing their homework on artists like, Charlie Wilson, the Barkays, Zapp, George Clinton. They're doing their homework. And on the other side, they're doing their homework on the Delphonics, the stylistics, because I leave the door open with vintage. It's stylistics. They're
Hmm.
very smart. And I think I think, I think they're going to do well for a long time because they're young.
Yes.
And they can really perform. That's
Yeah,
really cool.
live.
Yeah, they're very good live. Very good live. Bruno is amazing. When I first saw him, when he was on his when he was doing the hook on his first record. I can't think of the name of some. I knew he was gonna be a big artist.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he's a very smart kid.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, and speaking of I'm gonna go to another topic. I see
Hmm.
that a couple of years ago you have your own like dishes like restaurant. Tell us about like your experience about that.
Well, you know, I've tried a lot of things. As I said, I've been married for 51 years, so I got in the restaurant business for a while, and it's just quite challenging when you're on the road performing and trying to run a business, finding the right people that you can trust, to
Hmm.
make sure you're open and, you make sure your money don't get away and, all the
Yes.
things. But I enjoy it, and I only got out of it because I couldn't find a partner. I had great business. It was called Eat 'em Ups. That
Yeah.
was the name of my restaurant.
And that's very important, Uncle Larry, when you in the restaurant business. You need a
Hmm.
team, somebody you could trust, somebody that would make sure that the business is well stable. Like people like to go to a nice restaurant just to eat good food.
Yeah, and see, I was fast food, so I was dealing with a lot of younger people, and they just you just have to search around try to find the right ones. I was fast food, and that's a whole nother kind of business. It wasn't so much eating. You could dine in, but I only had a few tables to dine. It was mostly fast food, and we specialized in oversized. That's why we call eat 'em ups. Everything was bigger. The burgers were bigger. Everything was bigger. But it
Okay.
was interesting. It was interesting though. I was in the club business for a while, my wife and I. I didn't. It was too strenuous. We're spiritual people, so we like to go to church. And when you're doing the club business, you stop going to church. So it got in the way of my gospel spiritual life. So I gave it up.
Okay. And what's your favorite dish to make, Uncle Larry, and why?
It's spaghetti. I have my own recipe. What do you mean? The elements would be spaghetti and squash. There's a tie between spaghetti and
Uh-huh.
squash. I'm not I can't cook everything, but my
Mhm.
wife is really, really good. She's a
Mhm.
very good cook.
Mhm.
But I specialize in spaghetti.
And speaking of spaghetti, it's just a simple dish.
Yeah, but to a
Mhm.
degree, it's kind of like hard to go
Yeah.
wrong. But if you got the wrong kind of sauce, it don't work, man. You know what I'm saying?
Uh-huh.
You got to have the right kind of recipe for the right sauce. Just like when you're putting music together, you got to have the right ingredients
Uh-huh.
to make a record. And I like to
Yeah.
just tell everybody listening and everybody that's chiming in that, again, I tell you on May 20th, my new album, which is called Yours Truly, Larry D, will be available wherever you get great music. And also, I am an author, so my first book was called And the Band Plays On. It's my life story.
Mhm.
I encourage everybody, wherever you get good books, go on to my website, www.thelarrydotson.com, and check out my new book, man. Okay?
It's a cookbook.
No, it's my life story called And the Band Plays On.
Oh, okay.
It's my
What do
life
you
story.
what do you expect the fans to gain when they read your book, Uncle Larry?
Well, first of all, it's a backstage pass to my incredible 5 decades of being an artist. And the Barcades are one of the most interesting groups
Hmm.
around through the tragedy that it has experienced because, four of the members were killed in a plane crash with Otis Redding. So I talk about before I joined the band, my whole career doing the band, all the wonderful things that happened, all the tragedy, and even it was in real time because I talked about it even until I retired. So it's an amazing book, man. It's a very good read. It's not a long book, but for those people who have followed my career, they're gonna find it very interesting because I'm very candid. I talked about a lot of stuff that was like I never had spoken of before. So it's quite a good book.
Hmm. Yeah.
Mhm.
I'm
Okay.
looking forward to reading your book, Uncle Larry. I'm
Please
looking
do. It's
forward.
called And the Band Plays On, okay? And
Yes.
it's been delightful. I got to go to another meeting, but it's been delightful talking to you. You have a beautiful smile and good luck on your podcast. Thanks to everybody who's been chiming in. Don't
Okay.
forget my new music, okay?
Thank you.
All right, God
Have a
bless
blessed
you.
evening.
Bye bye.
Bye.
Bye bye.